The sky was on fire. Ash drifted through the air like snow, clinging to the shattered streets of New Carthage. Entire districts smoldered in silence, broken only by the low rumble of orbital bombardments. Families pressed against barricades, desperate to reach evacuation shuttles that hissed and roared as they lifted through the burning atmosphere. Above, Hyrllian carriers blotted out the sun, vast reptilian silhouettes that hung in the sky like vultures waiting for the kill. Commander Elias Kael stood at the edge of the eastern wall, helmet tucked under his arm, watching the horizon dissolve in flame. His reflection glowed in the mirrored visor, scarred, tired eyes framed by streaks of ash. The comms in his ear hissed with overlapping pleas, officers screaming for reinforcements, civilians demanding air cover, medics begging for supply drops. The chaos pressed against his skull, but his voice cut through steady and cold. "Reaper Brigade, form up!" The soldiers gathered behind him, black armored figures with bone-white visors. Their armor wasn't polished or ceremonial, it was scarred, repainted, patched together from battlefield salvage. They were criminals, outcasts, and survivors, men and women no other unit would touch. Yet when Kael looked at them, he saw something the aliens had failed to understand: wolves with nothing left to lose. Sergeant Vera checked the charge on her railgun and spat into the dirt. "They'll hit the gates in less than 20 minutes, sir. Civilians still bottlenecked at the east concourse. If we hold the wall, half of them die in the stampede. If we escort them, the wall falls." Kael tightened his grip on the railing. He knew she was right. The Hyrllians were efficient, burning choke points, driving refugees into kill zones, tearing apart discipline with fear. They weren't here for territory. They were here for extinction. "Split the line," Kael ordered. "Alpha Company with me to the concourse. Bravo holds the gate. Buy us 15 minutes. That's all we need." A ripple of dark laughter ran through the soldiers. Buying time was what they did best. The eastern concourse was a storm of humanity. Thousands pressed shoulder to shoulder, voices rising in desperate waves. Parents shoved children toward shuttle ramps. Medics dragged the wounded on stretchers slick with blood. The smell of burned flesh lingered in the air, mixing with ozone from plasma strikes. Above it all, the skeletal frame of the orbital elevator loomed, its cables trembling under distant impacts. Kael strode into the chaos, his amplified voice carrying across the crowd. "Move in order! Transports will not wait for stragglers. You push, you trample, you die. Stay calm and you live." The crowd faltered, 1,000 eyes catching his armored silhouette. Something in his tone, calm, sharp, merciless, cut through panic. Order spread in ripples. Families tightened their grip. Soldiers formed human corridors. The screaming thinned into silence. Behind him, Vera muttered, "Never thought I'd see the day civilians actually listened." "They don't see me," Kael replied, scanning the sky. "They see the armor. The Reapers are a story now. A warning." A thunderclap split the horizon. A Hyrllian carrier disgorged drop pods, streaking like meteors into the outskirts. The ground trembled as they landed, unfolding into armored beasts with curved blades and plasma rifles. Their war cry, an inhuman chorus of clicking mandibles, rolled across the ruins. Kael slammed his helmet on. "Contact! Alpha, with me!" The first drop pod cracked open, hissing steam. A hulking reptilian warrior stepped forward, scales glinting with metallic sheen. Its helmeted snout twitched at the scent of human prey. Behind it, 2 more emerged, blades pulsing with heat. Kael raised his rifle. "Welcome to New Carthage." The shot tore through the first alien's throat before it finished its cry. The Reaper Brigade opened fire, railgun bursts and plasma arcs lighting the concourse in blue fire. Hyrllian staggered, shrieking as armor cracked under human ingenuity. They were stronger, faster, bred for war, yet they faltered against sheer brutality. Vera vaulted a barricade, hurling a grenade into the cluster. The explosion rattled windows, painting the street in fire. "You want extinction?" she roared over comms. "Choke on us!" Kael's comm buzzed, Bravo Company at the gate. Their voices were ragged, distorted by gunfire. Sir, gate holding but pressures rising. 2 waves down, 3rd inbound. Plasma tanks moving in. Hold, Kael snapped. 15 minutes. The voice wheezed back. We'll give you 20. Kael didn't answer. Promises meant little in war. The battle dragged into brutal rhythm. Drop pods slammed, Reapers countered. Plasma scorched walls, civilians ducked under shrapnel. Every order Kael gave was razor-sharp, precise, stripping chaos into survival. His mind calculated distances, fallback routes, and timing of shuttle departures. He never let himself think about who wouldn't make it. A young private stumbled beside him, armor cracked, bleeding from a head wound. Commander, why don't we just run? Leave the wall, flee into the hills? Kael shot another Hyrllian through the chest before answering. Run where? They'll burn every cave, poison every river. You can't outrun extinction. You can only make it regret coming for you. The private swallowed hard and kept firing. Minutes stretched thin. At last the concourse thinned, shuttles rising one by one into the smoke, vanishing through atmosphere. Kael counted silently. Every ship that escaped a blade twisted into the enemy's pride. Last transports away! Vera shouted, railguns smoking. Kael exhaled, then opened comms. Bravo status? Only static. Then a ragged voice. Gates gone, they're pouring through, told you we'd give you 20. Gunfire cut the transmission short. Silence followed. Kael stood in the rubble, ash swirling around him, helmet visor reflecting burning skies. For a moment, guilt pressed like a knife. He had split his men. He had condemned half to die. Yet the transports were gone, streaking to orbit. Tens of thousands lived because of that choice. He turned to his surviving troops. We fall back to the elevator. Every step we take, we bleed them. Every block we leave behind, we make them pay. The Hyrllians think we're prey. Let's remind them what it feels like to be hunted. The Reaper Brigade slammed visors shut in unison. Their boots echoed on cracked concrete as they marched back into the fire, shadows against the burning horizon. For the first time in centuries, the Hyrllians would learn what fear tasted like. The ruins of the industrial quarter stank of charred steel and alien blood. Entire factories lay hollowed out, their frames bent like the bones of a giant picked clean. It was here, amid twisted pipes and shattered glass, that Commander Elias Kael led his strike team. The Reaper Brigade moved like shadows, rifles tight against shoulders, helmets scanning for movement. Contact markers all over. Sergeant Vera whispered through comms. We're in their nest. Kael knelt beside a half-collapsed support beam, his visor's HUD painting the streets in ghostly outlines. Drop pods still smoldered on the pavement, their clawed hatches split wide. The Hyrllians had secured the district, patrols weaving between burned-out transport husks. Their arrogance showed in the way they left bodies uncollected, human and alien alike sprawled in the gutters, a warning to survivors. Good, Kael muttered. The more they think they own this place, the harder we'll hit. He signaled. The team split, fanning into the ruins. Every soldier carried a stolen Hyrllian data spike, their mission simple: infiltrate, capture intel, and cripple alien communications before the next offensive. From orbit, Overlord Krythaal studied the battlefield through a panoramic holo display. The alien commander stood tall, scales gleaming under command ship light. His voice carried an almost ceremonial hiss as he addressed his subordinates. The humans scatter like vermin, Krythaal declared, claws tapping across tactical readouts. Each broken colony proves their nature, parasitic, chaotic, unsuited for empire. A junior officer bowed its crested head. Yet, they endure longer than projections, Overlord. Casualty ratios are less favorable than expected. Krythaal's eyes narrowed, vertical pupils tightening. Endurance is not power. The fire of prey always burns brightest before extinction. Let them rage. They will be ground into silence. But even as he spoke, small red markers blinked across the holo display, communications hubs going dark one by one. Krythaal's jaw tightened. Something was wrong. Kael's squad slithered through a gutted refinery. The air shimmered with heat from molten conduits. A lone Hyrllian patrol stalked ahead, their scaly hides glinting under broken floodlights. Kael's hand rose in a fist. Halt. He counted 5. 2 carried plasma rifles, 1 lugged a sensor drone, the others hefted curved blades. Efficient, disciplined. Too disciplined. Ambush, Kael whispered. The Reapers struck like wolves. A single railgun round split the air, puncturing the drone's core. Vera vaulted from cover, hurling a blade into an alien throat. Kael's rifle barked twice, dropping another before it could scream. The remaining 2 fought back savagely, plasma bolts searing the air. 1 Reaper went down hard, armor hissing as molten glass fused to his chest. Kael dragged him clear while another soldier finished the fight with a shock baton driven through scaled flesh. Breathing heavy, Kael pressed the squad onward. There was no time to mourn. "Spike the relay," he ordered. Within minutes, the Hyrllian comms tower sputtered and died, its signal hijacked by human code. Across the sector, alien patrols staggered as orders fell silent. Vera allowed herself a thin grin. "That'll put a thorn in their tails." Kael nodded. "Now we see how the Overlord reacts." On board his command ship, Krythaal's fangs ground audibly. "How?" he hissed, glaring at the blank signals. "This rabble has no coordination. No strategy. Yet they strike at our spine." An aide stammered. "Overlord, intelligence identifies the human leader, Commander Elias Kael. Survivor of the Epsilon Gate massacre. Records suggest high adaptability, unconventional tactics." Krythaal leaned closer, voice cold. "A predator among vermin? No. Merely a stubborn insect. One that must be crushed personally." He spread his claws over the hollow map. "Deploy extermination sweeps. Burn every ruin, flush every shadow. And bring me Kael alive. I want to watch his extinction with my own eyes." Back in the ruins, Kael's squad regrouped in a collapsed metro tunnel. Supplies were running low, but morale carried an edge of grim satisfaction. They had crippled enemy comms in 3 sectors. One soldier, Corporal Juno, broke the silence. "Sir, what's the end game? We keep bleeding them, but for what? They've got fleets. Carriers. Gods in orbit. We've got rifles and stolen grenades." Kael wiped ash from his visor. "We don't need gods. We need fear." "Fear?" Juno scoffed. Kael's voice hardened. "The Hyrllians don't fear anything. That's their weakness. They've never faced a predator that fights even when broken. We show them that, and they'll start making mistakes. And mistakes win wars." The squad fell silent, the weight of his words pressing deeper than orders. Night fell, though the stars were dimmed by smoke. Fires still licked the horizon. Kael led his team deeper into the industrial husk, toward the orbital elevator's lower struts. If humanity was to trap its enemy, this was the key. A sudden roar split the quiet. Alien floodlights ignited across rooftops. Dozens of Hyrllian soldiers surged forward, armor clattering, weapons raised. They had been waiting. Kael's comm flared, "Alien intercept." A distorted, guttural voice filled the channel. "Krythaal. Commander Kael. So the insect has a name. You hide in ruins, gnawing at scraps. Do you imagine yourself dangerous?" Kael smirked under his visor, even as plasma fire seared around him. "Dangerous enough to make you talk to me directly." Laughter hissed through the calm. "Your species mistakes defiance for strength. You are not predators. You are carrion, thrashing before the blade." Kael ducked behind a column, returning fire. A Hyrllian collapsed in a spray of sparks. He keyed the channel open to every human receiver in range. "Listen well," Kael growled. "Carrion doesn't hunt fleets. Vermin don't hijack your comms. You think we're prey? Step closer. See what happens when the prey bites back." The soldiers around him roared, their morale ignited by his defiance. Even in the ruins, the words carried like fire through dry grass. The firefight blazed through the night. Reapers fought in brutal silence broken only by weapons' roar. Plasma cut stone, railguns shattered armor. Every alien killed was another message carved into the enemy's pride. When the last Hyrllian patrol fell, Kael's squad stood bloody but alive. Vera leaned against a broken wall, chest heaving. "You just painted a target on yourself." Kael reloaded, voice steady. "Good. Let them come. The harder they hunt me, the more time everyone else gets." Above them, the orbital elevator loomed, cables stretching into the heavens. It was both salvation and weapon, Kael knew it already. But for now, the hunt had only just begun. And somewhere in orbit, an overlord marked his name in fire. The orbital stations fell one by one. From the surface they looked like dying stars, flaring bright before collapsing into streaks of wreckage that burned across the night sky. Each explosion rippled through the colony's atmosphere, shaking the ground like the heartbeat of a dying world. Commander Elias Kael watched from the roof of a gutted hospital, his helmet off, smoke clinging to his scarred face. He didn't need sensors to tell him what it meant. Without the stations, the skies belonged entirely to the Hyrllians. Sergeant Vera joined him, her armor streaked with black soot. "We've lost orbital guns. Only ground batteries left. Won't hold a full barrage." Kael didn't answer right away. He could still hear the comms from the station's final minutes, voices shouting for extraction, screams cut short when bulkheads collapsed. He closed his eyes, forcing the sound into the vault where all the other ghosts lived. Finally, he said, "Then we bleed them here." Hours later, the Reaper Brigade dug in along the old financial district, a labyrinth of collapsed towers and shattered skybridges. Civilians had already been evacuated through hidden tunnels. Only soldiers remained. The plan was brutal: delay the alien armored thrust long enough for transports to complete escape trajectories. Kael briefed the troops in the ruins of a bank vault. Hollow maps flickered on cracked walls, painting the city in red and blue lines. "They'll push armor through here," he said, tapping a gloved finger on the central boulevard. "We collapse the overpasses, funnel them into kill zones, and detonate charges when they cluster. We are not trying to survive. We are buying minutes. Every minute means another convoy clears orbit." The room was silent. Soldiers shifted, some nodding grimly, others staring at the floor. Everyone understood the price. Corporal Juno finally spoke. "Commander, what about us? After the convoys? What's left to fight for?" Kael's jaw tightened. He looked at their tired faces, men and women who had already given more than any war should demand. "What's left," he said quietly, "is that when the last transport leaves, we'll have forced the Hyrllians to pay more for this city than they ever imagined. That's enough." The battle came at dawn. Alien plasma tanks rolled through the streets, their hulls glowing like molten stone. Infantry swarmed beside them, mandibles clattering, banners raised high. Overhead, air skimmers unleashed strafing fire, blasting apart whatever ruins still stood. Kael's voice cut through comms, sharp and controlled. "Detonate charges. Now." The street collapsed in thunder, entire blocks of pavement imploding into craters. 2 tanks disappeared in fireballs, their crews shrieking as debris swallowed them whole. Railguns opened from the rooftops, cutting down advancing infantry in waves. The Hyrllians staggered but pressed forward, their discipline unbroken. Plasma bolts carved glowing scars into stone, forcing Reapers to retreat step by step. The boulevard became a furnace. Kael moved through the chaos like a phantom, barking orders, dragging the wounded, firing until his rifle overheated. Every decision carved at him. When a squad became cut off in the northern alleys, he ordered demolition of the bridge to stall pursuit, knowing it would bury his men alive along with the enemy. Static filled his comms, then a dying voice rasped. "We held them, Commander, make it count." The words sliced deeper than shrapnel. Kael forced himself onward. If he faltered, all their deaths would mean nothing. By midday, the financial district was gone, smoke and rubble where towers had stood. Only a few hundred Reapers remained, pressed against the orbital elevator's lower struts. Vera's armor was cracked, one arm bound in makeshift bandages. She slumped against the support beam, glaring at Kael. "We've lost nearly everything. You think this is still worth it?" Kael crouched beside her, his voice low but steady. Worth it? Look at the sky. Above, evacuation transports pierced the clouds in glittering arcs, engines burning like comets. Thousands of civilians had escaped because the Reapers had stood their ground. But Kael's throat tightened as he watched. He thought of the names he would never call again, the voices already gone silent. Vera studied him. You carry all their ghosts, don't you? He didn't deny it. Someone has to. That night, the remnants of the brigade regrouped at the elevator's base. Fires burned in the distance, casting long shadows over the massive structure that rose endlessly into the stars. It was more than a transport, it was the colony's spine, tethering the surface to orbit. And now, it was their last weapon. Kael gathered his officers, outlining his plan with cold precision. We rig the elevator struts with every charge we have left. When Krythaal brings his carriers in to secure the site, we collapse the spine. The debris will shred their fleets in low orbit. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The explosion would devastate half the city, maybe more. It was an act of scorched earth. Vera broke the silence. That'll kill us too. No way out. Kael met her gaze. His eyes were iron. This isn't about us anymore. It's about making sure the Hyrllians remember that humanity doesn't die quietly. We teach them fear. Later, as soldiers laid charges and wired detonators, Kael walked the perimeter alone. The city was silent now, emptied of life. He passed broken statues, children's toys buried in rubble, the charred skeleton of a tram still leaning on bent tracks. Every shadow whispered of what had been lost. A young private approached, helmet under his arm, eyes red from smoke and grief. Commander, why do we follow you? Death follows closer with every step. Kael stopped. He looked at the boy, barely old enough to shave, yet wearing armor too heavy for his frame. You follow me, Kael said, voice raw but unwavering. Because you know there's no running from this. The Hyrllians will burn every world we build, unless we teach them what it costs. We're not fighting for victory. We're fighting to make them remember us when they try again. That memory will save lives we'll never meet. The private swallowed hard, then nodded. His hand steadied as he sealed his visor. Near midnight, Kael climbed the elevator's maintenance platform, looking skyward. The tether vanished into the stars, glowing faintly with reflected fire from orbit. He thought of Earth, blue oceans, green continents, still untouched, still breathing. He activated his comm, sending a final message across secured channels. This is Commander Elias Kael, Reaper Brigade. New Carthage is lost. But if you're hearing this, know that we've made them pay in blood. Humanity does not go quietly. We are not prey. We are the predators they never expected. He cut the line. No need for replies. Behind him, the Reapers worked in silence, preparing the city's spine for its last breath. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn the price of underestimating humanity. The dawn broke blood-red, but no birds sang. Only the low hum of the orbital elevator filled the air, its massive cables stretching into the sky, trembling with tension. Beneath its shadow, the remnants of the Reaper Brigade crouched among crates of explosives and scavenged alien charges. Their armor was dented, visors cracked, weapons nearly out of power. Yet every soldier moved with silent determination, no hesitation left. Commander Elias Kael stood at the base of the tether, one hand pressed against the steel. He felt the faint vibration of the orbital counterweight far above, the pulse of the galaxy's last weapon. Vera limped over, her arm freshly bandaged, eyes dark from exhaustion. Charges set along the lower struts. We've got enough firepower to crack the spine clean through. Kael nodded. Then all that's left is to draw them in. Above the clouds, Overlord Krythaal's command ship descended with a fleet of carriers, vast hulls blotting out the sun. Their formation spread wide, circling the elevator like a pack of sharks. Krythaal himself stood in the forward chamber, mandibles spread in a cruel grin. At last, he hissed, claws tightening around the railing. The human Reaper hides in his nest. Today, his ashes scatter with the rest of his species. His fleet unleashed volleys of plasma toward the ruins, burning pathways through shattered districts. Ground forces surged forward, herding the remaining humans toward the elevator's base. It was exactly what Kael had counted on. The first wave struck just after sunrise. Dozens of armored Hyrllians stormed the plaza, weapons blazing. The Reapers answered with gunfire that rattled the steel beams, their rounds slicing through alien ranks. The air filled with fire, dust, and the metallic scent of blood. Kael's voice carried over calms, sharp and unwavering. "Hold fire until they cluster. Make them believe we're cornered." The squad obeyed, retreating in measured steps, drawing the enemy closer. Grenades rattled under alien feet, detonating in concussive bursts that tore through scaled armor. Still, the enemy pressed forward, relentless. From the rooftops, Juno called out, "Second wave inbound! Heavier units!" Kael raised his rifle, sighted along the line of advancing armor, and fired. The first plasma tank crumpled in fire, collapsing onto its side. He didn't watch it burn. He was already calculating the distance to the tether, counting seconds. Krythaal's comms flared alive. His forward commanders reported heavy casualties, ambushes, human tactics designed to bleed them. Krythaal's laughter echoed across the chamber. "Of course they fight like cornered prey. That is their instinct. Press harder. Drive them against the tether. When the last one falls, their monument collapses at my feet." At ground level, Kael knew the moment had come. Alien carriers descended low, their shadows engulfing the plaza. Their arrogance was perfect, so certain of victory, so eager to crush the last of humanity with spectacle. "Vera," Kael ordered. "Trigger Phase 1. Charges detonated across the plaza, collapsing entire towers onto advancing armor. Dust blotted out the sun, swallowing both human and alien in choking fog. The tether shuddered as debris struck its base, but it held. That was only the beginning. Vera's voice cracked over comms. "Struts are primed. Once they commit their carriers, we blow the spine." Kael exhaled, steady. "Then let them commit." The carriers hovered lower, drawn by the sight of human resistance. Their underbellies glowed with charging plasma cannons, ready to vaporize the last defenders. Krythaal's command channel opened, his voice like cold venom. "Commander Kael, I see you still breathing. You should be honored, the last human I erased personally." Kael switched his comms to open broadcast, every soldier and alien in range hearing his reply. His tone was quiet, lethal. "You thought we were vermin? Vermin don't hunt fleets. Prey doesn't bite gods. Step closer, Krythaal. Step closer and see how humanity dies." The silence afterward was heavier than gunfire. Then, the carriers lowered into position. Kael gave the signal. The world erupted. Explosives ripped through the elevator's lower struts, splitting steel with thunderous force. The tether groaned like a living thing, cables whipping through the air with hurricane strength. The upper counterweight lurched, dragging the entire structure sideways. The carriers, hovering directly above, were caught in the death spiral. The tether's collapse flung debris into orbit, slicing through alien hulls like a giant blade. Entire ships crumpled, detonating in blossoms of fire visible even from the ground. The sky became a storm of wreckage. Burning fragments rained down, crushing alien formations. Plasma engines ruptured, searing craters into the ruins. Krythaal's fleet was gutted in a single catastrophic sweep. Kael staggered under the shockwave, ears ringing, rubble pelting down. Through the smoke, he saw Hyrllians fleeing, their discipline shattered. For the first time, he saw fear in their movements, chaotic, desperate, broken. Vera's voice rasped through static. "We did it, gods, we actually did it." Kael coughed blood into his visor, wiping it clear. Shrapnel had torn deep into his side, every breath burned. He sank to one knee, refusing to fall. Juno knelt beside him, voice panicked. "Commander, we have to move! We can still." Kael gripped his arm, steadying him. "No. The transports are gone. That's what matters. You carry the fight forward. I finish it here." His eyes fixed on the burning sky, where Krythaal's command ship still floated, scarred, smoking, but alive. On board, Krythaal staggered against the impact, his bridge reduced to chaos. His claws dug into the railing as he stared at the shattered remains of his fleet. The human's trap had gutted his invasion in minutes. Through the calm, Kael's voice broke the static, low and final. You wanted extinction? Now remember this, humanity is not prey. We are the predators waiting in the dark. And we will never go quietly. Static swallowed the channel. Krythaal's mandibles clicked in disbelief, his pride cut deeper than any wound. For the first time in centuries, he felt the cold taste of fear. Back on the ground, Kael slumped against the tether's ruins, firelight dancing across his armor. The battlefield around him was silent now, broken only by the crackle of burning wreckage. He knew he would not rise again. But he also knew that today, humanity had carved its place into the galaxy's memory. The Reaper Brigade had shown what it meant to corner Deathworlders. His last words, barely a whisper, carried into his calm. We're still here. And then the commander of the Reapers was gone, leaving only the echo of his defiance amid the ashes of New Carthage.